My name is Eva Mozes Kor. I was born in 1934 in a quiet village in Transylvania, Romania. I was one of a pair of twins, and my sister Miriam and I shared everything: our laughter, our secrets, and, as fate would have it, our suffering. We lived simply, surrounded by the warmth of our family and the beauty of our homeland. But the world outside our village was changing, and soon, darkness would descend upon us. I never imagined how my life would change forever. One morning, we were forced onto a crowded train, packed into a cattle car with hundreds of others. The air was thick with fear, the cries of children, the barking of dogs, the screeching halt of the train as it arrived at its final destination, Auschwitz. When the doors opened, chaos erupted. People shouted, dogs barked, soldiers screamed orders. We stumbled onto the platform, blinking in the harsh light. In just 30 minutes, my entire family was gone. The Nazi soldiers moved with terrifying efficiency, separating us with a wave of a hand, a barked command. My mother, desperate, clung to us. She whispered, "Is it good to be twins?" Her voice trembled with hope and fear. A soldier, his face cold, replied, "Yes, twins are special." His words were a lie, but we did not know that then. They tore us from our mother's arms. I can still see her, reaching for us, her arms outstretched, her voice fading as they dragged us away. I never even said goodbye. The image of her, lost in the sea of terrified faces, haunts me still. From that moment, Miriam and I became part of a group known as the Mengele twins. Dr. Joseph Mengele, the infamous angel of death, was obsessed with twins. We were valuable to him, not as children, but as subjects for his cruel experiments. Every morning, we were counted like animals, lined up in rows, our names replaced by numbers. The lab was cold and echoing, filled with the metallic clatter of tools and the scratch of pens on paper. Doctors measured our arms, our legs, our heads, recording every difference, every similarity. On some days, they took our blood. Other days, they injected unknown substances into our veins. The pain was constant, the fear unending. I remember one day collapsing under the burning sun, my body racked with fever, covered in red sores. I lay there on the filthy barrack floor, barely able to move. Mengele glanced at my chart, his face devoid of emotion. "She has 2 weeks to live," he said, as if he were discussing a broken object, not a child. I couldn't walk. I crawled across the floor, desperate to reach a dripping faucet, my body weak, my spirit nearly broken. But inside, a voice whispered, "I must survive. I must survive." Over and over, I repeated it, clinging to that single thread of hope. My sister Miriam suffered in silence. She never spoke about what they did to her, not then, not for many years. It was only later, after we were freed, that we discovered the true extent of the damage. The experiments had destroyed her kidneys. Years later, a doctor in Israel examined her and said, "Her kidneys are the size of a 10-year-old child's." I gave her one of my kidneys, hoping to save her. But we never learned what poisons they had injected into our bodies. The war ended, and we were liberated. But the scars, both visible and invisible, remained. For years, I was consumed by anger and hatred. How could I not be? They had taken everything from me: my family, my childhood, my health. The memories were a weight I carried everywhere. One day, many years later, I found myself dialing the number of a former Nazi doctor in Germany. My hands shook as I held the phone. I had one burning question that I needed answered. "Did you ever see the gas chambers?" I asked, my voice steady, but my heart pounding. There was a long pause. Then, in a broken, remorseful voice, he replied, I looked through the peephole. I watched them die. I signed the death certificate. No names, just numbers." His words chilled me. The enormity of what had happened, the cold bureaucracy of death, was almost too much to bear. But in that moment, I realized something profound. I could not change the past. I could not bring back my family or erase the pain. But I could choose how I responded to it. I decided to meet this doctor at the ruins of Auschwitz, at the very site where so many lives had been lost. I wanted him to tell the truth, to acknowledge what had happened, but I also wanted something for myself. Freedom from the hatred that had consumed me for so long. How could I thank a Nazi? The question echoed in my mind. But then, standing among the ghosts of the past, I understood. I had a gift no one could take away, the power to forgive. With trembling hands, I wrote a letter of forgiveness. I signed it there at Auschwitz, the place where my suffering had begun. I turned to the doctor and said, "I forgive you." My voice was gentle, but it carried the weight of a lifetime. Forgiveness is not for the perpetrator. It is for the survivor. By forgiving, I freed myself from the prison of anger and pain. I chose to live, to honor the memory of those who did not survive. By embracing hope instead of hatred, we cannot change what happened. The past is unalterable, a shadow that stretches behind us. But we can choose how we relate to it. We can choose compassion over vengeance, understanding over bitterness. Forgiveness is the ultimate act of strength. It is not forgetting. It is not excusing. It is taking back the power that was stolen from us and using it to build a better future. Today, I stand free. The sun rises behind me, casting light on the ruins of the past. I carry the memory of my family, of Miriam, of all the children who suffered and died. I carry them in my heart, not as a burden, but as a source of strength. My story is not just about survival. It is about the triumph of the human spirit, the ability to choose love over hate, forgiveness over anger. It is a message of hope for all who have suffered, a reminder that even in the darkest of times, we have the power to heal, to forgive, and to move forward. Forgiveness is the ultimate act of strength, and it is yours if you choose it.